Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you to another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I've been using throughout the week. And I have a very personal surprise toward the end of this video. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, is there a fountain pen that has a personal meaning to you? Let me know down in the comments. So, let's dive into it. So that came off really awkwardly. I'm realizing how close the camera is to me with my experiment with trying to make the set work. But anyway, here are the pens I'm looking at this week. I have an Inco. This is a Polish fountain pen. It may be ready for a review. I'm going to have to go check my notes. A Centropen 100820. This is a pen I've reviewed before. It is amazing. A Centropen 10014. A subject of an upcoming review. Parker Duofold, a pen I lusted after a long time, and 33 or so years later, I finally was able to purchase one. Delta Dolcevita Masterpiece. I'm wondering, I have to check my notes again, but I'm wondering if this may be the first of my first impression series that's actually ready for a review. Platinum Procyon. I refilled it with the same ink, so it's a different ink now. So I feel like even though it's been through 3 full fills, it's not ready for a review, but it's put in the time, it just hasn't put in the variety of inks. PenBBS 266, one of my earlier first impressions when I started doing that series. Visconti Homo Sapiens, one of my first expensive pens. Admittedly, cheaper than this Centropen, but this was defective. I got it kind of on a discount. Lamy 2000. Interestingly, last week I showed you 3 vintage fountain pens. I purchased a total of 4 in that batch. The one has not arrived yet, but together, the 4 of them cost less than this pen. And finally, the star of my collection, Nakaya Decapod Twist with a Heki Tamanuri finish. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. As always, I'll be recording my impressions in a Bomo art journal. Okay, my first pen is an Inco, but before I do that, I just want to apologize for anybody I confused last week. No, it was not March 10th, 2019. My production team failed me. They didn't catch that. I guess you get the kind of production team you pay for. Oh, I'm the production team. Never mind. So, I have an Inco. This is a Polish fountain pen. Cold War era, 1950s sort of deal. Not one of those gorgeous pens that people lust after, but has a surprisingly nice nib. Trim ring here is gone. I was suggested to use clear nail polish. I have another pen of this sort that has the same problem, but I still have the ring, so I'm going to try that. Bit of corrosion. Some of it probably could be fixed, some not so much. And I'm okay with a vintage fountain pen if it shows a little age. And then the logo. Oh, I think this set shows that better than it did when I was downstairs. Made in Poland. And as I said, 1950s. The nib, interestingly enough, made in the USA. So is this an aftermarket edition? Was it sold with that? What's the story here? And a syringe filler, which honestly I'm not too impressed with, but I think the barrel has become a little distorted with age. But surprisingly, the pen writes decently. But it's kind of like a cursive italic. It's got to be aimed just perfectly. So this is an Inco. I don't know the nib size. It's not given. There's just a 4 on the nib. The ink in it is Monteverde. Turquoise. I chose it because it's a lubricated ink. I'm hoping to lubricate the guts of this pen a little bit better. I also put silicone grease in there. I feel like part of the problem is just that deformed barrel, which is an age and probably cheap plastic thing, but I do what I can. That syringe filler might be a bit easier if I had more to grab here. And I wonder, just looking at that, if possibly originally there wasn't more to grab. But I have another syringe filler drifting around my collection. It's the same way, so I kind of don't think so. One of my earliest fancy, really truly impressive vintage pens that got me really into Central Europe was this amazing Centropen. Now, this is a pen that, from what I'm told, was sold to the party elite in Czechoslovakia. A lot of them ended up being left in boxes and not used, and now descendants of the people who originally received them are selling them. But it is amazing, and not just because of that finish. This unassuming little nib feels like a paintbrush. You just can't write with it like an ordinary nib. I don't know what else to say. So, the ink in it is Japanese ink. It is Kyo-no-oto. Yamabukiiro. And I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's my revived interest in yellow inks, but I have several inks of this color this week. So I guess you get a little comparison of that. My next pen is also a Centropen. The same amazing, amazing finish. This one has some branding on it. Let's see if I can get into the light. There we go. Centropen 10014. I don't know what the 313 means, but I'm hoping to find out. I love the finials on this pen. They're just kind of the great cap. The features on it are good. I have noticed that this trim ring is a little loose, so one of these days I need to fix that with some of that clear nail polish as advised, but I'm going to try it on a cheaper pen first. Uncap it. This one actually was pretty cheap, I'll admit. The gold plate that was on the steel nib is gone, but you can see it's a Centropen nib. So this is a pen more just serious business-like type writing. Oh, and the filling mechanism is, if you remember my Soyuz AP from a week or so ago. This is kind of the advanced version of that filling mechanism, except the threads are where they belong. I'm going to bring up my Parker Duofold. Now, when I got interested in fountain pens at 10 years old, I immediately gravitated toward a Parker Duofold, but my bank account wasn't so into that kind of thing. So, 33 years later, I have one. And I will say, it may not be the most amazing pen in my collection, but it's a good, solid, very quality pen. And I have done a review on it, because after I bought it, I used it a lot. The ink in this pen is part of the story that's coming at the end of this video. This is Birmingham Pens. Cathedral of Learning, Panther Blue. Which, of course, now I know what the Cathedral of Learning is. It has a lot of different cultures represented in its classrooms. But just that whole idea of a Cathedral of Learning is just fascinating for somebody like me who's in the education business. And it's a nice color, but I have wondered, would I be as impressed by the color if it didn't have that amazing name? And I don't know. That's that whole, is a rose by any other name? I don't know. This pen also plays into the story. Not the pen itself, but the ink inside of it. Delta Dolcevita masterpiece. Delta, from what I understand, is gone. But I've always loved the finish on this, and I happened to find this one at a decent price. Now, it's a steel nib. It's one of their goofy fusion nibs. It has a piece of gold glued onto the steel. Luckily, it's a good steel nib. And remember I said this color would be a theme here? The nib size on this is a medium. And Birmingham Pens always does these really complicated ink names, mainly because they're trying to show off their Pittsburg heritage. So this is a Birmingham Pens Chuck Cooper Sunrise Key. Then I bring you the Platinum Procyon. This is a, oops, sorry, kicked the camera stand. This is a lower cost platinum. This isn't a platinum preppy or anything. It's a different nib. Metal pen, actually. Lovely finish. Plastic grip, which is part of why I like it. The nib has heritage that's shared with the preppy, but it is its own nib and filling mechanism. Just all in all, a very nice pen. This is a daily writer pen. This isn't one of those pens that you're like, wow, what an amazing writer. This is a pen you take and you work with. So this is a Platinum Procyon. And again, this is going to play into that Birmingham Pens theme. In fact, I put all the Birmingham Pens together in my little review tonight, just so I could talk about them at the end of this. So this is Pennsylvania Canal Sapphire Tributary. I forgot to put that it's Birmingham Pens, but it is. Birmingham Pens, Pennsylvania, Canal, Sapphire, Tributary. Shows kind of a nice little color change. Just for future reference for me or anyone who looks at this, I'll just put Birmingham Pens in parentheses here. Maybe just Birmingham. Good enough. This, like I said, is another one that would be ready for review now if I'd... would I use that Sweet Potato Purple from Bungo Box twice in a row? If I'd used a different ink the second time, it would be ready for review now. This is a PenBBS 266. I believe this is its third fill, so I may be ready to film its review. I know what I liked about this one more than anything when I saw it is it reminded me a lot of a finish on a Visconti Homo Sapiens, a special edition. Way out of my ballpark. I mean, okay, yeah, I did get the Nakaya that's coming here, but I just can't bring myself to pay that much for a Visconti. But I liked this finish. And I think after I do the review on this one, I'm going to put a different nib on it and bring out some more fun character of the pen. Not that it's a horrible nib, it's just not one I particularly love. So PenBBS 266, and it is a fine point nib. And once again, Birmingham Pens. Pittsburg. Aitch Astray. Astray, sorry. Those of you from Pennsylvania or who know Pittsburg may be a little upset at that spelling, but little known fact. For a brief while, the U.S. Post Office was trying to spell Pittsburgh this way without the H, and there was a big controversy and a lot of protests over it, and so the H was restored. So this ink is supposed to somehow commemorate that. You may have noticed I didn't mention any of my glittery inks and Noodler's pens this week. I'm still writing letters to seniors. I got sick of the Noodler's pens. So, I needed something to write with. And this seemed like a good candidate. Actually, so is that Centropen 100820. And I think I could use that Inco also. Visconti Homo Sapiens. It just writes very beautifully. And I think it's a beautiful pen. And honestly, my Visconti experience is limited to this. And I have a... shoot, what is it? A Breeze? Something like that. No, Mirage. And that's all the experience I have with Visconti. That I've had trouble with this pen, but not with the writing experience. It's been with other parts of the experience. But I will say, when you see what ink this is, the fact that this nib is not crustalicious is a good sign about the pen. But yeah, because of other reviewers, I've always been leery about buying Viscontis. But again, not personal experience, so that's why there's a lot of us out there. We all bring something different to the table. I honestly don't bring a lot of Visconti experience to the table, but what I bring is pretty good. This one has a medium nib. And the ink in it is Diamine, Ancient Copper, which you've seen in some of my videos, like the Sty Pen Up, forming all kinds of crusties all over the nib, to the point that it became unusable. Yet apparently the Visconti Homo Sapiens can handle it. We did an awards ceremony for our students this week. All my certificates were all filled out with this ink and this pen, and a lot of the remaining senior letters I have for my graduates who gave me announcements will be written with this pen. I think it's suitable. It's dignified and yet a little bit fun. Maybe not glittery, but like I said, those Noodler's pens were getting me mad, so I had to make a change. Still using the Lamy 2000 as my daily writer. I was sad to be away from it so long this winter, so I feel like I may have to just use it a bit this summer. One thing I'm noticing with this one that I didn't notice with the original one, because, well, that whole story about me dropping the original nib first on the classroom floor. No, this is not a broad nib. That's condensation. I find condensation all over it. And it's just not something that happened with the original. I don't know why. Not, a horrible thing, other than, I guess, the ink is a little faded here. The pen doesn't feel quite as smooth as my original and feels broader, but we've made our peace. We're getting along, and the feel of the pen in my hand is still really good. And finally, pen I write with only at home. This does not travel anywhere, ever. Nakaya Decapod Twist. With some kanji on it, which is supposed to be the word squirrel. I purchased the soft fine nib for it, which I knew I wanted because I have far too many Platinum 3776s, and that was by far my favorite nib. If I get another one of these, it's probably going to be with a coarse nib. I've also thought about getting one of the high-level Platinum pens, an Izumo. If I did that, I know who I even want to order that from. I want to order it from the Nibsmith, and I'd get a coarse nib there, but ground to a cursive italic. The people I ordered my Nakaya from, I've never used one of their ground nibs, so I guess I don't know as much about them. So this is a Sailor Jentle, because it's a Jentle ink. Epinard, which apparently is spinach for French. I mean, French for spinach. Wow, shouldn't be filming these at night. On the on the Instagram channel, I recently did a photo series where I was showing off this desk lamp here. I had it turned down low because if I'm not filming this, I don't like it this bright when I'm working in the evening, and I haven't been working in the evening much since I got this desk. It's mostly been during while there's daylight, but I turned the light down low. And it made a neat shadow effect because it's actually multiple light bulbs in here, which is quite different from the kind of lighting I grew up with, which was mostly incandescent, and then for a while those spirally fluorescent bulbs. But anyway, I'm embracing LED technology. I think it's wonderful. I can't wait till these two lights that you can't see are replaced by LED someday down the road. This channel has already paid for it through the advertising, but I'm waiting. I'm somewhat frugal, but I'm looking forward to it. In other exciting news, as when you watch this, I'm going to be out in the cold, photographing a track meet in 40-degree weather, with a possibility of snow, more possibility of it the next day, possibility of rain, which may drive me indoors because got to protect that camera. My budget includes a new camera, but not for a few years yet, so I got to protect it. and it's a good camera, Canon 5D Mark II. So I want to replace it with something equivalent, and so it takes a while to save for. Let me just say that. But anyway, that's what I'll be doing. So I'll probably be slow to respond to any comments here. I've been recording too many of these videos in the evening after the lights are off, or yeah, those lights, the outdoor lights. Hoping to get more daylight reviews because I kind of like the look of the outdoors behind me, even if it is, just my lawn and the street in front of my house. But I liked that look, so hopefully be doing more of that. But just, it's the end of the year, it's a busy time, so finding that free time, I have to schedule it. Something I'll be getting into in that productivity series I'll be doing this summer. But yeah, it does take a little time. So, the time I can schedule it is more after the sun has gone down. Like yesterday I was at school till almost 9 p.m. And I got there about 6 a.m. So, but it's the end of the year. That's the kind of thing that happens then. And that's how I can walk away free and clear at the end of the year. So it's worth it. But, yeah, graduation will be the Sunday before Memorial Day. So I'm excited about that. This will be a larger class. Last year was our smallest class in history. This year isn't our largest in history, but it's a larger one. We'll be graduating 35 seniors. This is a crew that I first met when they were 8th graders. Of course, small school. I knew a lot of them before I had them in class. But I first met them as 8th graders. I taught them Algebra 1 because I'm also can be a math teacher. I don't really want to be a math teacher, but I've done it. I've taught pretty much anything from, 8th grade math all the way up to dual credit calculus. But again, I'd rather teach science because it's more fun. But anyway, yeah, met a lot of them as 8th graders in Algebra 1 and then as freshmen in physical science and then through the years in various other elective courses. So, they grow up. I've been in this district for 13 years, so they would have been just entering kindergarten or possibly a year away from kindergarten when I first started in this school district. So, you think about that. They were the annoying little kids when I started here. So, yeah, that's coming. And on that light, I've got something to show you. Probably just as well the camera quit, because I did have something to show you. So the first thing is unrelated to the story I was just telling, but it's worth sharing because it's related to Birmingham Pens. I bought one. It'll be showing up in a Pens First Impressions, but not this week. That's the other piece of this. But I purchased one, upside down, the Imhotep finish. I just felt like I should support a Pennsylvania retailer, and I went to college at Grove City College, which is near Pittsburgh, and I've been to Pittsburgh a few times. So I purchased it out of patriotic duty. But something happened. I don't know how or why, but Birmingham Pens forgot to ship it. Or somebody did. I don't know why, but it sat. And I didn't notice right away because it wasn't a pen that I was super excited about. To tell you the truth, what I was excited about is they were offering a free bottle of ink with the pen. And they had an Allegheny River Twilight ink that I just loved. And so I ordered a bottle of that with the pen. Sadly, they've run out of stock. But the thing that happened, the reason I'm telling this story is Birmingham Pens forgot about my order. They didn't mail it. I kind of forgot about it for several months. I finally contacted them about a week or two ago. And, of course, they were very apologetic, very professional about it. And he offered me a pen of my choice. And I said, no, those kind of things happen. Don't worry about it. I didn't say, no, really, I'm more excited about your Allegheny River Twilight ink than I am about the pen. But, I suppose I could have pushed it and asked for the pen because turns out they were out of that ink because I didn't get a bottle of it at all. But he sent me some bottles of ink that are previews. Now, I had also ordered this thanks to a viewer who sent me a sample. And yes, there's the H on Pittsburg. Gorgeous shade of blue. So what he did, he said, I'm going to throw a couple surprises in yours. So Birmingham Pens included 3 inks that apparently aren't released yet, or at least weren't when he shipped it to me. This Pittsburg Aitch Astray. You can hit pause if you want to read this. But this is all about the H that was removed from Pittsburg for a while. They also sent me Pennsylvania Canal Sapphire Tributary. You can find a few canals around Pennsylvania. There's a lot of canal history there, actually. And finally, they sent me a bottle of Chuck Cooper Sunrise Key. Which I never heard of him, but I also don't follow sports, so there is that. But first African-American NBA basketball player. At a time when our country was especially unwelcoming to people who were of African-American descent. So, I'm always impressed when a company, when a company provides good service, good, that's what they're supposed to do. But what really is telling is when the service is bad, how do they handle it? I think Birmingham Pens went above and beyond. Again, they offered me a free pen of my choice, and there were 2 different finishes I really wanted on this pen. I was so tempted to say, this is the one I want. But no, I said, no, I understand mistakes are made, but they made it right anyway. So I'm impressed with Birmingham Pens. We'll find out. I'm going to film several first impressions, and that will be one of them. I'll find out if I like the pen or not. I don't know. I think it's pretty. I don't know if it's any good or not. Now, the other pen I have for you may not look all that familiar, and, it shouldn't, probably. This is a pen made by one of my students. Now, I first met this student as a 7th grader, and I'd taught a number of his relatives before. But he was a 7th grader, and, one of the things that stuck out to me was in the cafeteria. Back then I was still eating cafeteria lunch, not bringing my own lunch. I found sauerkraut at the lunch line for hot dogs, and I hate hot dogs, so sauerkraut kind of drowns out their horrible flavor. But anyway, he was excited about sauerkraut. Like, wow, what 7th grader is excited about sauerkraut? Well, he was. He was one of the 8th graders I mentioned that was in my Algebra 1 class. And back then, I was writing a lot with fountain pens. I did not have... or did I have it? That may be the year I purchased my document camera. I was teaching a lot with a document camera. The school didn't provide me one, but I purchased one on my own. It was about $100. It was portable, worked on Wi-Fi. And the kids got to see my fountain pens a lot. And anyway, him and another student, who's actually a relative of his, a cousin, were quite taken with these, and they both started turning their own fountain pens. This student actually... turns fountain pens not just with this kind of acrylic blank, but he also turns them with like antlers and wood that he has around the place and a lot of different stuff. So this is one of the pens he turned, and today, as I filmed this, he actually gave this to me. He's a senior now, and so I told him I'll film a review of this for Monday, but I couldn't resist just looking at it. I don't have time tonight to really film that first impression, so I'll do it this weekend, although I want to film it now. Steel nib, magnetic closure, which is an interesting touch. It's a kit pen, but he did the turning, and he assembled it. So when I do the first impression on Monday, I'll share the manufacturer of the kit, but apparently they're from Penn State, Pennsylvania, which, as you may have gleaned from tonight's review or other reviews, I'm from Pennsylvania, so definite personal connection there. So yeah, I'm probably more excited to film this one than I am that Birmingham Pens. So, oh, I gotta see if this, oh, it does. It magnetically posts. Good, maybe I'll get rid of that Monteverde Regatta Sport. So lots going on. Graduation, like I said. I have a 100th Memorial Day service I'm going to be part of on Monday on Memorial Day, so that's exciting. It may be that organization's final Memorial Day service, we'll see, but 100th is a good milestone. I'll have to tell you about that sometime. Not tonight. I've got to get to bed. I'm tired. But anyway, those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. 2 pens I'll be filming. You will definitely see the homemade pen next week, and probably the Birmingham Pens not too long afterwards. So, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, is there a pen with personal meaning to you? That's a pen that has personal meaning because it was a gift from somebody I've known since he was in junior high. I've purchased 1 or 2 other pens to commemorate various occasions or that remind me of various things. So maybe you have a personal story about a pen. Please feel free to share it in the comments down below. I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.